So in the previous example, we have seen how to fetch multiple records from a database using edu.net. So in that case, we have used the method ExecuteReader. So we'll take another example in which we are using ExecuteScalar method. So again, the first step is to add the DLL first. Next step is to add the connection, which already again I have copied. So next is SQL command. Suppose we wanted to get number of employees working. Okay, so my query will be select from employee, and then we have to pass object of connection. So next we will open the connection now. com.ExecuteScalar. Why? Because ExecuteScalar, it executes the query and it returns only single value. So there is no need to use ExecuteReader in this case now. So we need to store the result somewhere. So I'm using integer count, but ExecuteScalar, it returns the result in object form. So we need to convert this result to the type in which we wanted to store the result. So in this case, because it is integer, I'm using this method to convert this result to integer. And then I will print this message here. Count. In the last step is obviously we have to close the connection. So if we execute this application, now we will see that we'll get this message. So ExecuteScalar is again, it is used to return you only one value. So ExecuteScalar, it is used to get a single value from database after its execution. It executes SQL statements or stored procedure and it returns a scalar value or the first column or first row in the result set. So in our case, we will only get total number of employees. So in that case, we have to use ExecuteScalar method. The next method is ExecuteNonQuery. So ExecuteNonQuery is typically used for SQL statements without results. Means for all the other DML operations, for insert, delete, update, we can use this method. Its return type is integer, which returns number of records affected by the query. So again, we will see one example. Okay, so now suppose I want to insert some record in the table. Okay, so again my first step will be first add the DLL, second we have to use a connection which already again I have copied here. So my command will be now it will be insert into employee and suppose department is HR and suppose experience is 12. So I will close this here and then I will pass the connection object. Next, open the connection com.ExecuteNonQuery. And then I can simply say connection dot close. So if we will execute this application now, so if we see in the database, so we can see that this record is inserted here now. Similarly, if I want to update the records or delete the records, so I will just comment the statement and I will copy this query from here. So suppose I want to say update, so we'll just change this query, update employee, set experience is equal to 5, the department is equal to, suppose this is my condition. Okay, so in this case I want to know how many records are affected, so I can store the result here and then I can print this message. I can say number of records updated are rather I should take here count. So if we execute this application now, so number of records updated are 5 and we can also check in the database. So it has changed experience to 5 where department was HR. So execute non-query, it is typically used for SQL statements without results and its return type is int, which returns number of records affected by the query. Now again we will just go through all these steps by using which we can access database through ADO.NET. So first step is import the reference library class. So in my example I've used system.data.sql client. Next is create the connection object, initialize it with the connection string. And the connection string you can copy from the database property also. Next, use connection object constructor and specify the connection string as the argument. Next, create command object and we can initialize it either with inline query or we can also use the stored procedure name. Then open the connection instance, execute the query by calling the appropriate method and then we have to close the connection. So I hope with this all of you are getting some idea that how to use ADO.NET to connect with the database using connected architecture. Now in this section we have not used any parameters, so all the values were hard coded and we have also not used any stored procedures. In the next session we will see how to pass parameters and how to use stored procedures while calling the database.